Off top, today I became a flag football head coach champion. And
my fiance qualified for the Boston Marathon.
Also, the Commanders won on a Hail Mary.
We're so back.
Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show presented by Allstate. Throw your hands up. The energy in here is incredible because Bill Barnwell is here and because our hometown team, Charlie's beloved Commanders, are out of control.
Bill, do you feel that breeze? It's a little breeze.
I feel it.
That's the breeze of a window cracking open for the Commanders.
The championship window.
That window
open.
is it's cracked open.
Yeah.
It's about to be blown open in the next couple of years.
There's a draft coming through.
It's a draft.
Oh, it's not a draft. It's not. Let's not get carried away. It's not that wide. It's a little breeze sneaking through.
But it could build to gale force winds. I don't understand how wind works. Like it just comes and goes. Like
the point is, you can feel it now.
Yep.
You can tell the weather without looking at your app or going outside because Jayden Daniels has single-handedly pried the window ajar.
He changed my life. Like I there are very few things that have made me as happy in the last 34 years.
Okay, let's talk. To be clear.
It's very few things. Not the only thing.
I know, but I'm going to catch you before you get yourself in trouble. I don't know how many of these shows that Carrie watches, your fiance, but you gave her a shout out at the beginning of the show.
Yes.
So if she is going to watch a show, this might be the show she watches. So
that's why I'd say it was a great day. She made me happy.
Right.
I'm so proud of her. She's so fast.
Yeah.
And Jayden Daniels also, he's so fast. He's so fast. I love him so much.
And you love her so much.
I love her so much. Guys,
you did not say that you loved your fiance before you said you love Jayden Daniels, to be clear.
Bill, we're on his side, man. We gotta patch this up. We don't need to point those things out.
He's so fast. I love him so much. Guys, we have to start. Okay, we have to start with our check-in. Get your hands back up.
Throw your hands up.
Mm-hmm. Just like winning Rookie of the Week, Jayden's going to win it for a sixth time this week. He's already won 5 of them. He's also our only multiple-time winner of the check-in presented by Allstate.
Yes.
Wow.
Jayden Daniels completed a Hail Mary with no time on the clock as Tyreek Stevenson was taunting Commanders fans and not staying connected with Noah Brown. This was such a dramatic game because the Commanders really blew it in the red zone for a lot of the game. They could have been up by a lot. They had 4 field goals and, if not for a 60-yard run by DeAndre Swift and Caleb Williams briefly getting it together at the end of the game, it would have been a devastating loss for a team that looked better for the Commanders. But the legend of Jayden Daniels started today. With 23 seconds on the clock, Domonique turned to me and goes, "The legend begins right now." And he was right. He was right because good things don't happen to us. This doesn't happen. And only great players complete that type of Hail Mary. Extend the play, get everyone down there.
Aaron Rodgers, 2-6 Jets, the only great players and teams.
Exactly. You just compared him to prime Aaron Rodgers.
No. He said Aaron Rodgers Jets team. He's talking about the Hail Mary he completed a couple weeks ago.
This one was different. This one looked better.
Oh, God.
It did.
So I got to ask you, my question here is going to be, should I temper my joy, or how significant is a win like this for a Commanders team? Because it changed my life.
I'm a cornerback, so temper and joy is not something we do. We celebrate incompletions even if it's an overthrow. It's a damn incompletion. Today was a damn win. And it wasn't – I would feel less happy if I were you if it felt like you stole that game. Mm-hmm. You guys were in control the entire time. You deserved to win the game. You played poorly in the red zone and weren't able to convert. Didn't go for it on that 4th and inches inexplicably. Made a bunch of mistakes, but it still felt like a game that you deserved to win. You won it in miraculous fashion, but there's nothing to be upset about. You're much better than you anticipated being before the season started, and you now have legitimate playoff expectations.
Yeah.
And so, today was a great day, I think, for your team and particularly for your quarterback. That's one of those moments that feels like, I'm sure Bill will go back and point out all the times when bad quarterbacks did amazing things, but it's one of those moments that feels like it only happened in part because of how good your quarterback is. Because I know that's not necessarily a skill, but he did buy time. But anyway, I'll shut up and let Bill come in with the facts and ruin all of our fantasies.
Bill, worth noting, on top of this, His ribs are also made of gelatin right now, and he was down to his third string left tackle as he pulled all of this off.
Oh, I forgot to even mention that the Bears handed the ball to an offensive lineman who needed into the end zone. All right,
that was tough for me.
We got a lot to discuss about this game. First off, I love Domonique just straight up declaring me the Debbie Downer before I've even said anything on the show.
Sorry.
I feel entirely differently than you believe I believe, Domonique. Okay. This is a moment we should celebrate. Right. This is another moment in the Jayden Daniels canon, the legacy of Jayden Daniels. And it feels like it, right?
I mean, you see how far he threw that thing?
It feels like, and Tony Romo wanted to take him out before the play. He wanted to put in Marcus Mariota for that final pass. It feels like not only are they winning games, but he has these signature moments that are popping up, these plays that are becoming instant legends. I mean, not only the Hail Mary, but think about the pass to McLaren versus the zero blitz on third down against Cincinnati. Like these moments where it feels like he's transforming the franchise, right? Like it feels like he's shifting the luck, the feeling of the franchise, all of that in moments like this. And I mean, you can't say you expected him to do it. You can't say you expected him to win the game. But in any other moment, I would say in the last 25 years of Washington football, it would have felt like that was hopeless. And even in that moment, it felt like there was at least a tiny bit of hope that something could happen. And that is going to continue as the year goes on. It's going to feel like Jayden Daniels can make something happen when it would have otherwise been hopeless. And I think to me, that is an enormous leap forward for the Washington franchise and for their fans, many of whom were, I mean, did you guys see the reaction shots to the Hail Mary that they put up on Twitter?
No.
There are fans flipping out right behind the play in the first row, like behind the goalpost. There's 4 Bears fans in the front row, and they you see everyone jumping up as they just put their head in their hands. It's incredible. Art happened today in Washington.
Well, I had a live reaction shot of Charlie losing his mind in our little green room as we prepare for the show, and it was awesome. I was so happy for him, and I appreciate you, Bill, for not raining on all the things that are possible to rain on. I didn't expect you to, but I recognize that some of the when we go into okay, go ahead, Bill.
No, you know who we're gonna rain on? We're gonna rain on cornerbacks. How do you get Noah Brown wide open? What? Yeah. This was the easiest catch of a Hail Mary I have ever seen in my entire life. Domonique, you're a cornerback. How did this happen?
We talked about it in the immediately after it happens is like we practice this play. There's a crowd, and there are players that are designated to be in the crowd. There's one player designated to be in front of the crowd, and there's one player designated to be behind the crowd. So you normally have big guys, taller guys, safeties or whatever like in the crowd. Those are jumpers. And then the quicker guys tend to be cornerbacks who can react to the ball. There's normally 1 or 2 or just one behind and one in front. There was no one behind. And so, everyone collapsed onto that ball, and we expect you to bat it. And sometimes we get to bat it down, or sometimes they bat it in a direction, and the reaction is where the play is made. And we practice it all the time. Every team I was on, that was the configuration. Sometimes we'd bring in an offensive player. If we had a 6'5" tight end or something, he'd be the jumper. We'd do something like that, but we'd always practice it. And you were always taught to box out. Essentially, it's like you find, because we know that they are thinking the same thing. And all you have to do is go box them out. And we also practice, because it's normally a tip, some teams would practice box out and other teams would practice finish that guy. Is when it's hit, when the ball is touched, you don't have to respect what you would think of as pass interference rules. So sometimes you just stand, wait for the ball to get touched, and then annihilate the guy who's waiting to catch it. Or you go over there and get you a free, cheap interception off of it. That is the percentages on that play are so low because it is such an easy play to make.
Well, so Ben Solak tweeted out the dots.
Yeah.
And Tyreek Stevenson, who was taunting the crowd for the first 5 seconds of the play, not paying attention to Jayden Daniels, was the person who was supposed to be in contact with Noah Brown.
Right.
And he tipped him the touchdown.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how they design it, but Tyreek Stevenson was the one who hit the ball. And normally the guys who are the jumpers are in the middle of the field. And the guys who are like replace guys, because you have more time. And obviously when Jayden's scrambling like that, some of those things can break down. But a Hail Mary always ends up like that. And for no one to be there, and I don't want to blame it on Tyreek because I don't know for sure, but it seems like when I would practice that play, that was the position of the guy who either had to get in front or get behind. And that sucks.
We don't need to blame anyone. We can just celebrate the fact that the best quarterback in the NFC, the best quarterback in my lifetime for the Commanders, is making magic happen.
Yeah.
I mean, this was also like, yeah, they didn't perform that well in the red zone, but it was a really gritty performance because he was grimacing through the rib injury for a lot of the game, and he bounced a few passes, and it seemed like that was because he was not feeling his best.
After the first drive, they taped him up with like an entire ace bandage worth of tape just so he could sit on the sidelines comfortably. And then after the game, did you guys see the interview with Jayden Daniels after the game? I have never seen a more chill person in my entire life. I get more excited when like I'm walking down the street and someone notices my dog than Jayden Daniels was about this incredible life-altering play for some people of the fan base, including Charlie Kravitz. I think you guys are selling this a little short, though, in terms of the blame here. Because if you don't want to blame Tyreek Stevenson, okay, don't blame Tyreek Stevenson. We don't know what the individual player responsibilities are. But what we do know is that a couple weeks after the Jets hit a Hail Mary for a touchdown on a play where it was the Bills, right? The Bills rushed 3 against them and had a spy on Aaron Rodgers for some reason. The Commanders got basically, he had to scramble a little bit to give time for guys to run downfield, but it's not like there was a blitz or a ton of pressure on Jayden Daniels. He was able to get the ball off, which is kind of the first rule of the Hail Marys. Don't let the quarterback get the ball off in a place where receivers can get open. And then you flip it to the offensive side of the ball. Domonique alluded to this earlier. There was a 3rd and goal carry from the 1-yard line where this has to be one of the first times in NFL history and a player wearing 68 got a handoff. An offensive line for the Bears got a handoff, fumbled the ball, gave it to the Commanders. Like, those are unforced errors. Those are issues where you have to know better. And even I don't want to blame the players for this, but I do want to blame the coaching staff. I think they, in both cases, did not put their team in a position to succeed.
And to be clear, when I started this and warned that Bill might be the Debbie Downer, he reprimanded me. And 2 times back to back, he was like, let's drag it to the negative. Let's not talk about how Jayden Daniels is so magical that he's turned around the fortune of one of the most cursed franchises in the sport. Let's point out how dumb the coaches are and how the lineman fumbled the ball, right?
I got to make my money too. What are you? what's the issue here? You got to be positive. I gotta get paid too.
I appreciate that. I mean, yeah, I think there were a lot of coaching mistakes in this game, and some on the other side too. I do have to appreciate though that, Bill, you gave us the leniency to allow us to live in some of the mythology and some of the magical sports nonsense that we like to believe in. That like this man's presence is enough to change the fortunes of the franchises. That things like this would not have happened if he was not on this team.
Legitimately, I've heard on this podcast over and over again, the situation matters. It's more important than the quarterback. Not in this case. The situation is the quarterback.
You've also heard me say that there are some guys, and that
what are absolutes for?
Children and dumb people.
That's right.
And it's not absolutely true, but Jayden Daniels seems to be a special enough player to make the situation great.
Bill, I'm not gonna lie. It did just come to me when you were talking. Handing the ball to 68 there, the Bears did treat the biggest drive of the game like the Lions treated the Cowboys.
Not even the first few drives for the Lions and Cowboys. Once the Lions got up 40, they opened up the offensive line playbook. The Bears were like, no, biggest play of the game. This is what we got to go to. Incredible. Just I don't want to say a fireable offense because it seems unfair and people get fired too easy, but like absolutely, you have to go talk to the owner the next day to explain what you were thinking level offense.
And I know we've covered all the most significant parts of this game, but I can't get that fade that Caleb Williams threw to the moon out of my head. Like, what the hell was that? That was like he was shooting a 3. He wanted to get more arc on his shot to give more surface area to hit the shot. It was the most insane fade ball that I ever seen in my life.
It was. And we should, this is a perfect time. Bill, before we're going to move on to Caleb Williams, and I'm going to preface this by saying I genuinely like Caleb Williams.
Oh, here we go.
This just came out of my mouth after the
Oh,
Hail
yes.
Mary.
So, hold on. Let me set it up. So he was a little pessimistic. I told him that Jayden was going to get it done. He throws it. They catch it. Charlie jumps out of his seat and screaming and excited and yelling, "We did it! We did it! We did it!" And then the camera cuts to cuts to Caleb Williams on the sideline.
And I just pointed, full finger point, and yelled at the top of my lungs, "Eat Caleb!" And then immediately it was like, why did I do that? Why?
It's so unlike Charlie. It's funny how sports bring out this person that is like hidden deep inside. Like, I don't think of Charlie as he's been around sports for a long time. He works in sports. He like understands the game and he respects the players. Caleb is from the area and he just lost it and turned into like a Philly sports fan in the stands. It's like, who is this maniac? I've never met this man before. I hate him and I love him.
I immediately got self-conscious too. Like a second later, I was like, why did I say that? How did that come out?
I'm sorry, Caleb.
Fast
Caleb, I'm
forward
sorry
a year.
if you're listening.
Charlie is at the finishing line of the Boston Marathon.
Oh, yeah.
Someone cuts in front of his fiance to finish 2 seconds earlier. They slip and fall at the last moment, and they get past, and Charlie is just pointing at them. Eat, Steve!
He's got to yell out their number because don't they have numbers on?
Oh, yeah.
648!
Very possible.
Man, I can't imagine if they're like this version of Charlie. If they get to the Super Bowl at some point, I'm gonna lose my producer / co-host. He's just gonna travel with this team with no shirt and his body painted in Commanders colors.
Just wait till we get Jayden versus Dak. That is even worse.
I'm going to feel really bad for Domonique in that game.
I appreciate it. I just don't tell me to eat, please. That's all I'm asking.
I won't. It's that doesn't happen in blowouts. All right, let's talk about the other side of this game, which is the Caleb side of it, because through 3.5 quarters, 3 1/3 quarters, Caleb, Bill, you sent us the stat that he had a minus 27 CPOE completions percentage above expected. That's bad. At a certain point, he was 3 for 12 with 33 yards. Everything changed after the DeAndre Swift 60-yard run, and he got some stuff going. But this was a weird performance for Caleb Williams in a string of weird performances where he's beat up on the Panthers and the Jaguars and struggled in against other games. But what was your assessment of Caleb today?
It's disjointed, right? I mean, the Bears did lose offensive lineman as the game wore on, which I think hurt him. There were some weird plays. Like, didn't he scrambled in like a 3rd and short and still came up with like a yard short of the first down marker, if I'm not
that's
mistaken.
Line of scrimmage. Yeah, and 32.
Yeah, some ball placement issues. It just felt like he was unsure. It felt like he had looked so confident in stretches against the Panthers, which, I mean, the Panthers make a lot of quarterbacks look confident, frankly. Even the Jags game, I thought he looked really good. And then I think bring him in here against a defense we know it isn't really great, and it just felt like they didn't really have good answers for him. Like, yes, there was the Swift 60-yard run, but they were like 2 for 14 on 3rd and 4th down. It felt like for all the playmakers they had, it felt like they didn't really have a concept, didn't really have a player they felt like they could really go to. And it felt like sort of like a USC game, maybe in some ways, where it felt like Caleb had to create, scramble, make plays happen. And he did on that final drive. He actually did a really good job on the final drive, but it felt like, there weren't easy answers for him. And I think that's the concerning thing if you're a Bears fan, because the Commanders do a good job of giving Jayden Daniels easy answers as the game goes on.
Yeah, it felt like to me that I was surprised at this, what felt like an obvious regression for Caleb Williams, because he looked similar to what I saw in the early portion of the season. And I thought this was another defense that would allow him to get done what he wants to get done. And he didn't look comfortable is the thing that caught my attention, is he seemed to speed up his process in the last couple of weeks in a way that suggests that he was starting to get comfortable and feel comfortable in the offense and confident in his decision-making. I felt like he held onto the ball and scrambled a little too much early in the season because it felt like he didn't know the offense yet. The last couple of games, I saw a different version of him that seemed decisive. It's like, all right, now I know the coverage. Now I know where to expect. Now I know where to go. This game, it felt like, and this is to your point, Bill, that possibly the Commanders put together a game plan that took away the things that he wanted to do, and the answers weren't there either. but he just seems so uncomfortable. And I haven't had a chance to go like fully watch the all 22, but I'm guessing that's what happened, is that the Commanders took away like his second and third options pretty quickly, and he just seemed like flustered.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, if the Commanders don't hit a 60-yard Hail Mary to win the game, are we not talking about this game as, hey, listen, he struggled, but he came through late and led a touchdown drive, and, you know, the Bears tried to get in his way by giving the ball to 68 at the 1-yard line, and they just let Caleb run things, they'd be fine. Like, you know, it felt like the Commanders snatched what would have been considered a signature win for Caleb Williams away from him with that Hail Mary.
It felt like, I mean, we see this often in those like gotta have it situations that suddenly the quarterback seems more comfortable. And oftentimes it's a reaction to the defense getting more vanilla, particularly when you have a defense that you don't necessarily believe in all the players. Rather than play tight and aggressive coverages or blitz or do things like that, you just kind of sit back. And in a game when Caleb's struggling, it seemed like they were daring Caleb, like, you can't actually get this done. So it feels like, again, like without having the ability to already have watched the all 22, it felt like he was getting different looks in the end of the game because the Commanders weren't afraid of him than he was getting in the beginning of the game. And he still, like, you mentioned DeAndre Swift was a big part of the reason why he was back in the game. He wasn't like dicing them up. He made some good plays. He made that one corner route when he lost DJ Moore while getting hit. That was incredible. He scrambled a lot. And even in that run, like, I can think of 2 or 3 passes that just made no sense. When they got the pass interference call, he completely overthrew him. He threw that ridiculous fade ball, and he dirtied another ball earlier. So, like, even when they were moving the ball, he still didn't seem completely comfortable.
Yeah, and it was an interesting watch because the Commanders' defense has struggled a lot of this year.
Charlie, did you lose your voice because you were screaming at Caleb Williams so loudly earlier during?
That's exactly right.
I mean, we were going to let you slide with one clear. You went to the second clear. Bill had to step in.
Bill, you know, I lost my voice at Mardi Gras in 2010, and it's never come back.
Oh no,
we don't know what Charlie really sounds like, to be clear.
I booed my friend. I tried to get an entire bar at Pat O'Brien's to boo my friend, and I booed him so vociferously that I lost my voice. It's never been the same.
So we don't know what Charlie really sounds like.
What's your friend Robert Griffin III?
No, but that was mere weeks before the RG3 trade when my life was changed the first time.
Nice. And but now, since then, you've decided no longer to boo and just tell people to eat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. That's right. But no, the thing about Caleb in this game is, like, you brought up that this felt like a USC game. Big difference here is that the Bears defense doesn't let up 40 points. They're keeping them in all these games with a reasonable game script a lot of the time. And Domonique, you said something about his processing sped up. Well, today it felt like the game sped up. Like, his misses were really bad. And I think I speak for all of us. Like, we still believe in the prospect where it's like the arm talent's ridiculous. The movement's ridiculous. But he's had this weird, uneven rookie year that seems, it's hard to say because the Bears are 5-3 and they're a good team. And he's largely good in stretches, but it feels like underwhelming in certain points because how bad the misses are and how high variance of a player he is right now. Or at least that's what it feels like for me watching it.
No, you say weird, uneven rookie year. I don't agree with that. I would say normal, uneven rookie year. I think, like, we're kind of spoiled here because Jayden Daniels has looked pretty much phenomenal from the moment he stepped on the field. Go back last year, CJ Stroud looked phenomenal from the moment he stepped on the field. Like, the vast majority of rookie quarterbacks, even good rookie quarterbacks, or guys trying to be really good quarterbacks when they're rookies, are uneven, I think, in this way. So I would say you're right that it's uneven, but I don't think that's that crazy or abnormal. It doesn't make me feel any differently about him as a player versus what I expected coming into the league.
What I'm having a hard time, like, fully wrapping my head around is a lot of the quarterbacks that we see turn out to be good. We don't see them have as many low lows because I think they are being protected by the players around them and protected by their coach. I think even CJ Stroud last year, a lot of it was he was being protected by a running game, and then he would make incredible throws because they weren't asking him to do a whole lot. And now we look at Jayden Daniels where he doesn't feel like he's being as protected, and he's still doing these great things. But the thing about Caleb Williams that is hard, I think, is when it's ugly, it's really ugly.
Yeah.
And we're not used to seeing that with prospects that turn out to be, like, great, I think. But if you take a step back, I think the fact that the magical plays, the insane, incredible athletic plays with great throws, they still show up.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking back to some of the recent prospects that ended up kind of being busts, and the recent prospects who started slow and then eventually turned into something, like Josh Allen comes to mind. He always had the flash plays, and even if he had the bad plays. So, like, if I take a step back from the whole Caleb picture, I can feel more confident because the great's in there. And I know that's the trap that gets a lot of people in trouble, is like, the great's in there. You just need to find the right coach or the right situation, and you can, like, eliminate all the bad. So that's the question. Is he going to be able to mitigate the low-end throws and the low-end plays and the low-end stretches of play?
And it's like, look, I get it. Shane Waldron almost certainly sucks.
That's the offensive coordinator for the Browns. I mean, for the Bears.
But we also came into this year being like, this is the best situation for a number 1 overall pick ever.
Yeah.
And that's what's disappointing about it, because it's like they are supposed to have these playmakers. He is protected by the running game in a lot of ways, and the defense is really good. And that's what makes it harder to think about, because like Drake Mays looked pretty good, and they have like no talent. Jayden Daniels, like, we crushed the Cliff Kingsbury hire. We crushed the Commander situation in a lot of ways. They're at the bottom of the league everywhere, and it's just weird to see Caleb be more uneven than those guys. He's playing like Bo Nix.
I'm sorry, Bill. I think it's also about expectations, is because the situation. If Caleb was dropped on a team that we thought, if this was the season he was having, and he was on a team that we didn't hype up like this,
if he was on the Commanders, it'd be great.
It'd be a lot different. But because we all convinced ourselves that the situation was great, now it's impossible for some part of us not to be disappointed in the result.
I believe every single time that we came up talking about the Bears and their receivers, the first thing I said was, the offensive line kind of stinks. And I actually think the offensive line has kind of been better than I expected. So I don't think the offensive line's been like a major disaster. It's been problematic here and there. But like, I'm happy to raise my hand, guys. I'm happy to be the one here. If I have to be the one on the Domonique Foxworth show who thinks Caleb Williams is good and still good, and the Bears are going to be a playoff team, I am happy to be the one of the 3 taking that stance. I'm not concerned about Caleb Williams.
This is gaslighting. We all think Caleb Williams is
well
played.
Well played. Way to stake out a corner that we're all standing in.
I guess
you just talked about boxing out. This is my chance. I'm boxing you out. I'm ready to bring in the Hail Mary from Caleb Williams.
Dominique and I are the only one brave enough to give fair criticism to Caleb Williams while still thinking he will be good long term.
Nice.
All right, let's move on to another game in the DMV area. I guess it was in Cleveland, but it's another DMV team. The Ravens.
I love Dominique claiming Washington as his hometown team when very clearly, if Baltimore is good, he claims Baltimore as his hometown team.
I don't claim anyone as my hometown team. I've never claimed Baltimore as my hometown team. I just simply stated that we are recording this show in Washington, D.C. That's it.
Bill, have you read the essay that Dominique penned when he signed with the Ravens?
No.
Oh, gosh.
It's on the Ravens website, and it's the clock struck midnight, and I knew what I had to do. I'm coming home, and it feels so great. And it was talking about how a dream come true to play for his hometown beloved Ravens.
I'm sure I didn't say I was a fan, because I was never a fan of the Ravens. They showed up when I was in high school, and I was busy trying to get scholarships and girls. I wasn't about to become a Ravens fan.
Anyway, about the Ravens, as I derail us. So they lost to the Browns today, and Jameis Winston, who in the fourth quarter of that game gave us the full Jameis. He feathered a beautiful ball that bounced off of Kyle Hamilton's chest 4 times before dropping back the next play and feathering a beautiful touchdown pass to win the game for the Browns. It was a really weird game because he could have had 3 passes intercepted. Lamar had he overthrew Zay Flowers in the first quarter. He had a ball that bounced off Rashad Bateman's face because of the sun. Even on that last drive, he threw 2 balls into the end zone that looked like they could have been caught, where he scrambled right and threw the ball all the way back to the left side of the field that were pretty like amazing Hail Mary attempts. But there's an interesting thing with this Ravens team. The Chiefs win these close games. The Ravens are this team that we think is amazing and this offensive juggernaut and has so much talent on defense, even if they don't have Mike McDonald this year. But dating back to last year, the Ravens seem to beat themselves more than any other elite team. And so this is broad, but what do you make of that? How do you sort of marry those facts that they're this great, but this is what can happen in a playoff game?
I have a hard time drawing some broad conclusion based on all of these because they all feel kind of unique. Maybe Bill will have a better reason, a better way to explain why it always happens to this team. I mean, I could explain what happened in this particular game, but I'm not sure that that's the answer in every game. It's the defense. Like the defense, they can't get pressure without blitzing. And that last drive, it felt like they were doing, in the secondary at least, they were doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. Like there's a 3rd and 7, I think, where they go 0 blitz, which at that point, it's 3rd and 7, it's 0. We have to play tight, close coverage. We are putting it on Jameis Winston to throw a good pass, and the coverage was loose. And then it seemed like they reacted to that on the touchdown where, again, they're in 0 coverage, and you're squatting, and a guy runs by you, and it's not the same situation. And so it feels – the tough thing is it feels fluky the way that they lose in these games, but it's happened so many times over the past couple of years that I feel like I need to make some grand conclusion about how this team can't put guys away, but it doesn't feel like that at all to me. Bill, what do you think?
Yeah, even on that first Cedric Tillman touchdown, the Ravens, they weren't even lined up. Like it was a slant to Tillman for a touchdown where it was just pitch and catch because there was nobody even near him. And I think that's concerning because we've been trashing the Browns for 2 months as like this team is a disaster. They, they're a mess. And like, yes, they do not have Deshaun Watson anymore, and that helps, but I don't want to draw significant conclusions from this. I think even by Raven standards, this was a tragedy of a football game in terms of the drops. I mean, like you said, I can think of at least 3 Jameis Winston passes that literally not just hit Ravens players in the hands, but like hit them in the hands in places where even if they like kind of like bobbled the ball a bit, it still would have probably fallen like into their chest or on their legs or something, and they'd still not go down with those plays. And in terms of great drops in NFL history, I can't think of a drop that was more dramatic than like Rashad Bateman. I think Lamar hit him too hard. Like I feel like it was a 50-yard bomb that Rashad Bateman like wasn't expecting to have that much heat on it, and like it was incredible. Like the ball bounced 3 or 4 yards off of him in the other direction. It was almost comical. It was like a parody of a Ravens ugly loss.
He also dropped to his knees to try and catch the pass for no reason because it was one they clearly lost in the light. It looked like when you see like a little kid in the outfield who clearly shouldn't be in the outfield and someone hits a high pop lie to them and they're just under it terrified. And I wish he was mic'd up because the audio of it doinking off of his helmet must have been hilarious. Because I jumped off my couch twice today. The other one was just to yell like doink immediately after it hit Rashad Bateman in the face.
Like how they put microphones in the uprights now and they just go boom. It's weird because I don't know the right analogy, but the Ravens are one of the most like well-run organizations and well-coached teams. And like if you ask me in isolation about a team that's not going to like blow a single game because they are poorly coached or because they are not prepared or because they aren't ready for certain situations, I would be like the Ravens be near the top of the list, but they are the team that I feel like have blown these. Like you think about the Steelers game last year, the Dolphins game, the Raiders game earlier this year. You think about the team who's done these ridiculous losses the most. It's definitely them. I don't know. It's like your most responsible friend always being the one that is getting arrested or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. And you would always want to be able to say like, hey, any one of those times you're like, all right, I get it. It makes sense. This fluky thing happens. But if the fluky thing keeps happening to the same person, it's hard to defend yourself and say, no, it's always a fluke that happens to me because they aren't like an unlucky organization. I just don't. I'm having a hard time reconciling all of this.
Jameis Winston, by the way, to your point, Bill, when the Browns were trailing in this game, he was 13 for 17 for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. 3 of those 4 incompletions bounced off Ravens. It's amazing. Did you have any thoughts about the fact that they just reinstituted the Flacco offense immediately, which is just like high variance, chuck the ball downfield as much as possible?
What else are you going to do? I'm just killing myself because I should have come up with a better analogy than the like buttoned up friend that always gets arrested. I don't know. We're going to work on it.
We'll
Bill,
workshop it.
Come up with a metaphor for me, man. You seem smart. It's like a pretty girl who farts a lot. They get worse.
You
They
really
get
cracked
worse.
yourself up with that one. Didn't
I liked
you?
it.
You made me
I liked
laugh,
it because
too.
you look at him and you're like, hey, no.
Is Lamar the pretty girl in this scenario? Because we know
No,
Lamar's had some trouble in the past in these situations.
The Ravens, generally, that's not it. It's someone who's really trusted. Oh, it's like if your grandfather is a stealing problem. It's like, hey, that guy, I trust that guy. Hey, I'll leave him alone at Thanksgiving. Then you come back, watch it's gone. Grandpa got it in his pocket. Like, what? Grandpa don't steal.
Can we make this the entire show? Just Domonique just stretching for metaphors for an hour?
Oh yeah, and they progressively get worse and worse.
Oh, yeah.
But Charlie's so happy that he's not going to stop me.
My face hurts from smiling so hard since the Commanders win. Cheeks really hurt.
I mean, do we feel differently about the Ravens than we did before this game?
I shouldn't.
But you kind of do, it sounds like.
I mean,
You know what I'll say? I think it's harder to parse the top of the AFC now, which is a broader conversation we should get into. But before this, I thought that the Ravens were clearly the best team in the AFC, despite the fact that the Chiefs are undefeated. I was like, this is an offensive juggernaut. They move the ball so easily. Like this is different than years past. And now the same warts are still reappearing. And Josh Allen and the Bills were awesome today against the Seahawks, who we think are a pretty good team. I know there was a deluge and it made the game very weird with the rain. But the Chiefs took care of business, as Mahomes said they would take care of business against the Raiders, and they're still undefeated. And I think that the top of that conference is much more clustered than I thought it was before this week. And that's my take on it.
I mean, I think the weaknesses that the Ravens had defensively, I was surprised because I was expecting, like we've talked about how, at least from my perspective, they've had trouble with blowing coverages and giving up big plays. They've also had trouble when they go up against top-level receivers. Neither of those things were the issue today. I didn't see a bunch of broken coverages, and Jerry Jeudy might be the most talented receiver that team has to face, or that the Browns had for the Ravens to face. And so I think that's why I'm hesitant, is I'm not sure maybe their defense just isn't good, which doesn't make sense considering the talent that they have on it, or isn't good enough. And I thought their offense was so much better that it could compensate against every team, but the Browns still have a really talented defense. So I think that's why I'm having a hard time, like, not fully saying that I can just throw this game away, is because while it felt like a random occurrence that they shouldn't have lost, they were on third down. Like they kind of got not run over, but they kind of got controlled by that Browns offense that's not good, in a way that you don't expect good teams or good defenses to be kind of manipulated.
So David Ubben tweeted after the Jameis pregame interview, "At all times, Jameis seems like he's shooting a scene he's rehearsed 100 times for a movie that is not being made."
So perfect. It's so perfect. So Bill, what do you think about the top of the AFC? Did this change anything for you with the Ravens? And how they compare to like the Bills and Chiefs and those other top teams?
I mean, we've seen the Bills stink too. We've seen the Bills lay absolute eggs at different points during this season.
We haven't even seen the Chiefs offense be good yet this season.
Yeah, the Chiefs, like, they haven't been terrible at any point, but they have not had a game where they looked at all dominant. I mean, I picked the Chiefs to go 15-2 this year on this very show. And I don't feel good about that prediction because I know it's wrong. Because, like, even though they keep winning, I was describing a dominant Chiefs team that has not existed at any point in any game this year. I mean, this was going to be like the Mahomes, he's going to show them, like, they were trash talking him all week. And it was kind of the same Mahomes we've seen all year. Like, he threw a terrible interception. He got beat up because Wanya Morris is a bad left tackle. They hit a bunch of, checkdowns and stuff. Mahomes hit all his normal shots, but, like, this team has zero ability to dominate even bad football teams. And I think the Ravens have that. The Bills have that. I would say even the Texans haven't really done that this year, but I think the best teams in the AFC otherwise have that ability. And so my brain tells me that if you have that ability to dominate bad teams and you're only kind of, if you're just beating bad teams by 7 points, I would typically take the team that's going to dominate. But these are the Chiefs. And so I'm kind of expecting them to figure things out, but every week they keep winning and I still don't feel any better about them than I did the prior week.
The Chiefs' defense was incredible this game, and they are incredible in most games, all games so far this year. I think the thing that's most interesting to me about the Chiefs is if you just look at the score, you walk away thinking, and you look at their record, you're like, all right, the Chiefs are managing these games and saving themselves in a basketball sort of way for the playoffs. And it's easy to believe that that's true when they're coming off of back-to-back Super Bowls and they have the best record in the league. And the difficult, like the tension is then when you watch the games, they do not seem like a team that is at all in control. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that I have a hard time accepting and fitting into that like ready-made narrative that seems to be there. Like they keep winning. They're just doing enough. They're a veteran team. They know what they need to do to win. They know how hard they have to play. They're not digging deep into the playbook yet because they don't need to. This all makes sense when you see that they're 7-0 and finding a way to win all these games. Then you watch the game. And they're like throwing interceptions while they're backed up. They're letting their quarterback get hit a bunch. They're having interceptions and diving into receivers' knees. It does not feel like a team that has a ton of control. And yet, they're 6-0 or 7-0 now.
I don't know, Bill. I feel pretty confident. 15-2 is looking way better.
But this is the thing about the difference between you and Bill is Bill has some integrity, and he wants it to be 15-0 or 15-2 in the way that he predicted it. He doesn't want to fall backwards into a 15-2. He will reject it. If they go 15-2, he will never bring up the take again because he doesn't feel like he earns it.
Wins are a Bill Barnwell stat.
I like predicted the Texans and the Eagles to miss the playoffs this year, and I feel very good about my skepticism about those teams, but they're still probably going to make the playoffs because the Jaguars stink and the Cowboys stink.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs I'm going to be right about and still feel wrong about. So I basically I'm going to feel bad about everything I predicted before the year for one reason or another.
Aaron Rodgers and the Jets experience, they lost to the Patriots today without Drake May, who left the game early with a concussion. And there was talk of a mutiny before this in New England because Gerard Mayo called his team soft. The Jets are 0-3 since firing Bob Saleh and putting in Handsome Jeff as their coach. I'm ready to say it, but I want to know if you guys are ready to say it. Is the Aaron Rodgers Jets experiment officially cooked? Is there any coming back from what has happened?
First of all, congratulations to Bob Saleh.
Yeah.
And why does Jeff get handsome? I feel like Robert Saleh is.
They're both handsome.
Yeah.
There's room for everyone.
You didn't say handsome Robert. You was a handsome Jeff. I feel like Jeff's
a handsome Jeff. The first time I showed you a picture of Jeff Ulbrich, you were like, "That guy's hot."
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I said that looks like Vrabel. Oh, I did say he has a great beard.
You're like handsome man.
But I mean, that wasn't the first time I saw Jeff. Like I remember him from Hard Knocks last year. But anyway, cooked. I don't know. It's sad. It's disappointing. The worst part about this particular game was, they're like the opposite version of the Chiefs. Is like they keep finding ways to lose.
Yeah.
They actually had the game-winning drive that was Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback in that drive, even though it was not like him dicing up the defense all the way down. And then all they had to do was stop a team that does not have any receivers or any real playmakers to speak of and has a backup quarterback or a quarterback who got benched earlier in the season and going up against what is supposed to be the strength of this Jets team's at defense, and they still lost. So, like, I don't know who else to fire or who else they can sign, but, yeah, it feels like there's really no hope, and I can't imagine a sadder locker or, like, a more upset, more difficult locker room to be in than that one on Wednesday when they all show up to put in a game plan.
You know, Domonique, another handsome guy with coaching experience named Jeff. Maybe he gets a second run as a head coach with the Jets.
Don't do it, Jeff. Other handsome Jeff.
Don't do it, other handsome Jeff. You have a good job. I really feel like this is sort of the concerns we had about this team last year during the summer, where I think it was all speed ahead. Jets are going to be great. You know, it's Aaron Rodgers' first year with the Jets. The defense is dominant. Like, it was that thing of, okay, everything that went right for us last year is going to keep happening, and Aaron Rodgers is going to fix everything that went wrong. And that's great in theory. And the Jets defense, even though Rodgers didn't play last year because he got hurt, the Jets defense still held up. It was still really good last season. That defense is not as good this year, whether it's the injury to C.J. Mosley, whether it's secondary not playing as well. I mean, Sauce has struggled. The pass rush hasn't been quite as consistent. It doesn't feel like that defense is top 3, top 5 anymore. And once you take a step backwards on defense, you need the offense to take a step forward to compensate. And the offense is not that much better than what it was with Zach Wilson at quarterback. And so it feels like the timing is wrong. It feels like, yes, in a perfect world, the Jets would have gotten the defense from 22 and 23 with some much improved version of Aaron Rodgers, but they have like a C- version of Aaron Rodgers, and they're getting a C- version of their defense from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, the Aaron Rodgers stuff to me is, it's funny we started the show talking about Jayden Daniels and how different an organization feels when you have the right guy at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about those same things, those same benefits accruing to the Jets because Aaron Rodgers was there. Not to mention his play on the field. It's like there's a different level of preparation when you know that you have a guy on the other side that can make things happen. There's a different level of confidence on the field when you're down. Like, you play better when you feel like you have someone on the other side that can take care of the issues. But it seems like everything is worse, and Aaron Rodgers being worse is part of the problem. But none of those like intangible things that we have a hard time calculating, and even some of us have a hard time believing in, he brings none of them. He talks a lot about them. We expect him to bring them because he's there, but he doesn't. And you said that this offense isn't much better than last year. I'm not sure that it's better than last year's offense. Like, I don't feel any more confident when I watch them play. You could argue that it's worse considering the players that they've brought over and the more experience that Garrett has, and Aaron Rodgers is healthy, and they brought in Adams, and they have two good running backs. Like, compared to expectations, this is definitely far worse than last year's offense was.
Well, you think about great coaches, and the thing I always notice with great coaches is that they make other players better, right? Like, you bring a guy from one organization into your organization, and they get better. Look at John Harbaugh's team last year with Mike McDonald, right? Like, so many of the players, so many of the veterans who came in, like Jadeveon Clowney, Cal Van Noy, Arthur Mollett. I mean, guys who, you know, either were on the tail end of their careers or they have been inconsistent. They played better football in Baltimore than they did elsewhere. Can you say that about anybody on this Jets offense right now? Like, Devontae Adams doesn't look better than he did in Las Vegas. Maybe he has that mysterious hamstring injuries popped up again. Who knows? The offensive line, Tyron Smith looks much worse than he did in Dallas. Like, it doesn't feel as if Aaron Rodgers does not look as good. I guess he also wasn't very good his final year in Green Bay as well. But I mean, I agree with you. He's not playing his best football by any means. He's turning the ball over too much. But like, it certainly doesn't feel like there's another personnel move for them to make. And at this point, there's probably not a coaching move for them to make. So at this point, I don't really know what you do to try and fix things besides just hope that Aaron Rodgers gets better. Hope the defense gets better. Like there's not I don't think there's another lever to pull. And it feels like that's been the only thing keeping Jets fans, giving them any hope during this stretch.
And there are obvious scheme issues that we've talked about, and lots of people have talked about with their offense.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, at this point in the season, you can't do much about that.
Yeah.
It's like you can't. They believe through a season and through camp, that they could run the Aaron Rodgers offense and have success, and they can't.
But this is also what's ridiculous about this. The guy hasn't played like Aaron Rodgers football in over 3 years. You traded everything to get him. You traded what you had left to get Devontae Adams, who apparently gave the greatest pregame speech of all time this week, or locker room speech after last week. You've built this whole thing around him. You let Aaron Rodgers bring in his lackey offensive coordinator, Nat Hackett, and he's 41 years old. It's not going to get better.
Oh yeah, I guess
he's set the organization back a decade.
Okay, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but you say it with such indignance, like you disagree with any of these moves. And that's the thing, is like I am certainly not here to defend Woody Johnson, but at no point along the way did any of this stuff seem stupid until it all happened. It's like we all would have traded for Aaron Rodgers given what we had in that situation. And Aaron Rodgers told me that he needed Lazard or he needed an offensive coordinator. I say, fine, whoever you want, Aaron, you can get him. Then Aaron Rodgers says, then I'm already, I don't know, all pretty much pot committed. And then he says, give me one more chip. It's like, all right, it. I ain't got no more chips anyway. You want Devontae? Sure. You want me to fire the coach? Whatever. Because none of these things is going to get him back that lost decade, but you've convinced yourself that maybe one of these moves will change the next couple of years.
They went all in on a 39-year-old quarterback. That's bad process, even if it's Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. I'm sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
Their quarterback was Zach Wilson. Like, I'm not going to say this move worked out, but it's not like this was the Brooklyn Nets trading for KG and Paul Pierce and late in their careers.
It wasn't. I see that. All right. So I think this is some of the tension that pops up sometimes is when there's obvious risk reward calculations that you have to make. Of course. Okay. This was part of the risk. It was worth it. And now
it's not worth it.
I think the reward that was there was worth taking this risk. Obviously, it's turned out wrong. But you're telling me now, with the benefit of hindsight, obviously it was the wrong move to make. But you are sitting there. You are the controlling partner of the Jets. You have a great defense, talented receivers, a good running back, good running game, and Aaron Rodgers wants to come play for your team. You've watched Tom Brady go and win a Super Bowl somewhere else.
What did they trade for Tom Brady?
Put all that aside. What does that matter? Okay.
Because they emptied the cupboard for him.
Answer the question. You would have said, nah, we're going to ride it out with Zach or figure out someone else. That's what you would have said.
Let's sign Kirk Cousins.
Okay. Now you're not taking this seriously anymore.
No. You've cornered me with a lot of things that are correct.
Okay. All I'm saying is that we can say that this is a mess and this is crazy and it's funny, but it's ridiculous for us to act like how they got here was asinine.
No,
we all thought it was a smart move at the time.
The part that was asinine was continuing to dig the hole deeper and continuing to give Aaron Rodgers more and more control over the organization.
Pretty sure if you go to ESPN.com, you'll see an article a little skeptical of the price the Jets paid for Aaron Rodgers and bringing up a hypothetical scenario that Jets fans were furious about because they didn't know how to read, suggesting that maybe they would be better off with a much cheaper quarterback, say a Jacoby Brissett or a Teddy Bridgewater, because you wouldn't have to deal with Randall Cobb. You wouldn't have to deal with Alan Lazard. You wouldn't have to go up the draft capital. You wouldn't have to pay Aaron Rodgers a record-setting salary. And you wouldn't have to go into this Aaron Rodgers just pit of blackness that seemed to envelop his final year. Darkness retreated in Green Bay.
And you also would not have undercut whatever authority that you thought your coach had if you bring in those guys. Like, I agree with all of that. And Bill, you are a very smart person, and I'm sure that you sincerely believe that when you were writing it. However, if you are given the opportunity to go for a championship and someone said, hey, you can get Aaron Rodgers coming off of a bad season, or you can get Jacoby Brissett. You two liars are telling me that at that time you would have said, nah, Aaron, we good. I don't want to have to bring in your lackeys. I don't want to have to deal with this. Give me Jacoby.
There's more pieces to that. It's not a one-to-one. The cost is a factor, and it's also like I'm going to move the argument a little bit as we're now on First Take.
Yeah.
You said that this is going to be like Tom Brady. Even that.
I didn't say it was going to be
like Tom Brady. They thought it was going to be like Tom Brady. But even that is bad process because Aaron Rodgers is not Tom Brady, nor has he ever been that guy.
Okay. Everybody is so emboldened now that they have the results in hand. Neither of you two guys would have went for Jacoby Brissett over Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins or Kirk Cousins.
It's not 1v1. You're missing the you're
No, I know.
No.
I'm sorry. I am not trying to miss the point. I understand it. All the costs that come along with Aaron Rodgers. I agree. That's a much bigger cost and baggage and challenges than comes with Jacoby Brissett. But you two,
who, by the way, in that final drive.
Okay, but you
cut that out. Bleep that on the final drive.
You think that's better?
I think so. Just bleep it all, Brian. Long bleep.
It is time to get out of here because
Aaron
We have more games to talk
Can we go now? I don't want to talk about any more games.
There's more games we have to talk
But
about.
you're delirious, and you're shoving,
I'm not delirious.
You're shoving things. You're lying about who you would sign or
I'm
draft
not lying
or
about
trade
it.
for, and you're shoving things places they don't belong.
You're I have to defend the player so much bias. You've horseshoed all around to defend Aaron Rodgers.
It's not about defending players.
Domonique
I'm
is fed up,
defending the
though.
GM, and I'm defending Woody Johnson, which is even crazier because I think that you guys are being disingenuous. But that's fine.
There's literal video of me saying the Jets are more likely to finish in fourth
No.
last summer.
I believe it is last summer, or like after he got hurt.
No, 2 summers
you're talking
ago,
about
after he got traded, before he got hurt.
Okay, I think it's a lot easier for you to say that and not be the actual person who makes the decision. That's all. Okay, we can move on. We're not going to get anywhere.
The last thing I'll say is you talked about how I've been this broken Commanders fan. If you think I haven't studied dumb moves of trading too much for old, washed up Hall of Famers, you're out of your damn mind. Because this is a Snyder move.
And I know
that's the ultimate insult.
there is no chance that either of you guys would have passed up on him, no matter what it costs, if you thought you had a Super Bowl roster and gone for any of the people that you named. But that's fine. We're wasting time. Let's get through the rest of these games so you can go to sleep because you need to go to sleep.
I'm going to be watching that Hail Mary till 4 a.m. Go to sleep? That's insane.
Well, we need to get these games done so you can go start watching the Hail Mary because this is absurd.
The Eagles sort of boat raced the Bengals. Say it was 14-14 at one point. Then the Eagles totally separated. I thought that this was the best the Eagles offense has looked in a long time. Jalen Hurts looked spry out there. The Bengals did not. It feels like they are in a really tough spot. They're now 3-5. After the game, Joe Burrow said, I think 10 wins is usually gets you in. We got to win 7 of 9. That's doable. But I ask you guys, which team did you learn more about, the Eagles or the Bengals today?
I mean, it was nice to see the Eagles can still reach those high levels. Looking at some of the third downs in particular, there were still some great throws from Jayden Daniels. From Jalen Hurts. The J got me confused. And there
were some great throws from Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts has some great throws, some difficult throws, and he has some really impressive runs also in this game. But when you're looking at this Bengals defense, it's not the best version of it. But it was nice to see that the Eagles can dominate an opponent. It's something that we haven't seen them do in a long time. An opponent that we don't think is great, but is reasonably competitive. It's not like blowing out the Panthers. They felt like they were in control of this game, right, Bill?
Yeah, they were, and that's the part that gets you excited if you're an Eagles fan. Is this is maybe the most complete win they've had all year. Thought it was the most consistent the offense has looked. I mean, we've seen drives where they look dominant, where Saquon makes an incredible play, or AJ Brown just mosses a dude wearing 44 for the Giants, or there's moments where you say, okay, oh yeah, that's what that guy can do. That's what that guy can do. They have incredible individual talents, but this was the best drive to drive. They had 5 60+ yard drives in this game. They were moving the ball down the field consistently. They hit big plays. They converted third downs. They were tush pushing. They did all the things that you expect the Eagles offense to do, and it's great. For the Bengals side of things, it kind of feels like that window that you mentioned for the Commanders earlier, that window might be closed for the Bengals. There might be a tiny little bit of win sneaking in, but it is not very far open at this point. And what I think this game really reinforced is kind of a problem for them, which is they are a significantly better offense when they have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. T. Higgins missed the first couple weeks of the year. The offense was struggling. They get him back. The offense looks much better. Now he misses this game against the Eagles with, I believe, a quad injury he suffered in practice on Friday. And it was a lot of Mike Gesicki, which is not something you necessarily want. He fumbled after a catch in this game, I believe, to set the Eagles up with a short field. And Cincinnati, I mean, the Eagles knew if we cover Jamar Chase, we're in good shape. They can't run the ball effectively. They're not great in pass protection. Burrow's going to make a play here and there. They hit a couple plays here and there, but 4th and 1, they knew where the ball was going, and our boy Cooper DeJean made a stop to end the drive. And for the Bengals, that's a big picture problem because this is a team that just paid Joe Burrow. They're going to pay Jamar Chase. and they seem very hesitant to pay T. Higgins. And every game he misses and they struggle kind of feels like they got to pay T. Higgins as well. And if they pay T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow, the problems they have on defense, the problems they have with the offensive line, the problems they have everywhere else besides the passing game feel like they're only going to get worse because they're spending more money on their 3 stars.
Yeah, it feels to me a lot like they're not going to be able to pay T. Higgins and address some of the issues unless they just have some crazy hits in the draft. But I think Joe Burrow in this offense has been one of the teams that's not super scheme dependent. They're very much dependent on the magic that they can, the talent and the magic that they can create together. And when one of those pieces is missing, it becomes very difficult. So I think that this offseason for them is going to be about figuring out how to build an offense around 1-star receiver and a great quarterback, which is a pretty good problem to have. Most people would kill for that problem, but it's still a problem that we're not sure that they can address.
So we're giving up on second half Bengals, which has been a thing every year, it feels like, when Burrow is healthy.
Yep.
I think they're going to be a team no one wants to play down the stretch.
All right. It's really time to shut it down. Can we go now, please?
No, I got 2 more. I got 2 more.
Oh, my gosh.
No, the next one's going to hurt me. So I
don't want to hurt
people. Nothing gets people to continue watching as much as the namesake of the show wishing the show was over.
I don't understand. He's known the rundown the entire time. The Jets conversation really broke him.
I know. I'm being honest. That's what the people appreciate about me. Honest reaction is that Charlie spent. And
why do you keep saying that? I'm fine.
All right. Well, say the stupid question.
It's not a stupid question.
Say the smart question.
So this is going to hurt me to say it because he was a player that I love coming into the draft, and it's Anthony Richardson. But there's something interesting that's going on here. The Colts are 4-4. They have all of their games. This has been very interesting. It's a good point, Bill. This is a legitimate spit take from Domonique. Well, no, it's just that he has been one of the least accurate quarterbacks in NFL history through his first 2 years. It's like him, Bryce Petty, Deshaun Kaiser, and that's in the data that's been tracked. He was 10 for 32 today. But the Colts, all of their games are decided by 6 or fewer points. Yeah. And their bad quarterback play is really affecting them. But they drafted this guy based on raw tools, thinking he was going to be a project for the long term. But he has been so bad that it's really throwing that into flux of how long you can stick with this guy. So if you're running the Colts, how patient can you be with Anthony Richardson?
I guess it depends on how you assess the problem. Mm-hmm. The accuracy issue is so extreme that it doesn't feel like something that can be solved.
He makes early career Josh Allen look like Drew Brees.
Yeah, it's not something like let's just be patient. And there is an offense that you can imagine working for him, but it is not an offense that I think you can run anymore with like the change in the RPO rules and also the fact that he gets injured. So like I'm not sure. I wouldn't advocate giving up on anybody, but it seems like turning him into the type of accurate passer that you would need seems like such a crazy long shot that it would be unprecedented. And Josh Allen's improvement was like the most extreme, unprecedented improvement of a quarterback's accuracy that we'd ever seen. And this would make that look like a baby step.
That's the tough part, is that I think there would have been people, myself considered, who would not have expected Josh Allen to turn into, the Josh Allen is now. But that's also an outlier. That is a historic outlier for accuracy. Maybe Jalen Hurts is a little closer, but even that was a significant improvement in terms of accuracy, completion percentage, not just in terms of the numbers, but watching him play. Like, he became a much better passer overnight. And maybe the most concerning part for me is that we're not seeing improvements. It doesn't feel like he's getting better from week to week. It feels like the best game he had this year was week 1. Against the same team, against Texans, if I'm not mistaken. That was a game where, yes, he hit a couple big bombs for scores. He missed a couple more as well, but he was part of the run game. It felt like he was, an explosive passer. And in this game, he was better than the numbers most of the day. Like, he had a few drops. There were some, plays where I think he was a little unlucky, but he also threw a horrific interception on 3rd and long during the 2-minute drill. And to Dominique's point, like, yes, you need to give him reps, but one of the things they were going to do to get him to keep the offense afloat while he was getting reps was involve him in the run game. And now, because of the injuries, because he has seemingly an utter inability to avoid lowering his shoulder and hitting people, which, I mean, last week he hit like he could have run to the sideline. He chose to hit a defender who was being blocked to just to get contact on the play. This week he could have run to the sidelines and took a hit where he lowered his shoulder. Like, I mean, I really want him to succeed. He's such a fun player, but he's just not being thoughtful in terms of how he runs things. And so they're protecting him. They're because they don't think they can trust him in the run game. They're protecting him by not using him in the quarterback run game. And that eliminates, sort of the thing that was going to sustain this offense while he was going to get the reps as a passer. And so it's making the run game less effective. Although the run game, I think, was fine today with Jonathan Taylor, but teams are not afraid of Anthony Richardson throwing the football on them. And the best version of Anthony Richardson should be absolutely terrifying to face in the same way that the best versions of Josh Allen have been terrifying to face because of his arm strength in the past couple of years. So I don't think you're giving up, but I do think you have to treat this as, okay, we have to be scouting for a quarterback this year just in case we get to the end of the year and Anthony Richardson doesn't look any better than he did in week 1, because that seems like it's a distinct possibility right now.
They got Jomar Flacco right behind them. They don't got to find a quarterback, but I do think that the rest of the season, true answer to your question is, like, he has to show some significant improvement by the end of this season. If he doesn't show any significant,
you give him the whole year.
I mean, I think, yeah. I mean, unless it gets like really ugly or doesn't improve at all, it's like, I mean, I would sign up to give him the whole year, but like, you have to assess the player, and like, this is the year that you decide. If you get to the end of the year and he's shown some improvement, some significant improvement, that you're like, all right, we have some foundational talent that we can build off of, or some foundational acumen that we can build off of. He doesn't really have that now. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, then you start to move on from him, I think.
Would you say, okay, like, yes, we're scared about you getting hurt, but like, that's the only thing we can do on offense, so we're going to get you back in the quarterback run game 10 times a game? Like, is that something to be comfortable doing, or do you think you have to protect him because he's not shown the ability to protect himself?
I think the promise of Anthony Richardson is him being able to run the ball. Mm-hmm. So, like, it feels callous to say that we would put you in there and, like, intentionally expose you to hits.
This is the Jacoby Brissett thing. Take those hits while Jake rests on the sideline. Jacoby, we're good.
It seems like it's almost not worth it if you have, like, if we drafted Anthony Richardson and we can't involve him in the run game, no one would draft Anthony Richardson, right? Like, he doesn't get drafted if you don't think that you can involve him in the running game. So, like, I don't get I understand you want to protect him, but I don't get the idea that you're going to, that's essentially, you're then trying to turn Anthony Richardson into Tom Brady, which no one looked at Anthony Richardson and was like, all right, we're going to build a pocket passing thing out of him.
Could not have looked more different at the combine.
Yeah. Like, you get Anthony Richardson because you imagine him developing into what Josh Allen is. Like, that's what you have in your mind. Cam Newton, maybe even Lamar Jackson. Like, that's what you have in your mind. And if he doesn't have that portion of the game, like, I don't want him.
All right, last topic, because Domonique wants to get out of here so bad.
I don't want to get out of here. I want to stay all night. I'm going to have so many thoughts.
So is he the...
This is a classic Domonique. Recognizes he was wrong about the topic, and he just goes the other direction to try and...
I wasn't wrong. I was right, but I'm just going to prove a point because...
So is he the Cam Newton of Mitch Trubisky's, or the Mitch Trubisky of Cam Newton's?
I think he's the...
The Cam Newton of Mitch Trubisky's would be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's the injury prone?
Charlie, he might be the Mitch Trubisky of Mitch Trubisky's, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky was a great dual threat quarterback.
I remember Bears fans got really mad at me once.
Not great.
I think Mitch Trubisky's second year, because I called him the Blake Bortles of the NFC North. And that turned out to be like the best comparison I've ever made between quarterbacks. So he may be in that bucket pretty soon.
Soon to be the Blake Bortles, the second Blake Bortles of the AFC South.
Oh, God.
All right, last one. The Lions hung 52 on the Titans.
Oh, gosh.
It was a strange game. They had 4 touchdown drives of 25 yards or fewer, 5 under 30 yards because of all the interceptions, the return yards. Mm-hmm. But they could have started at their own 1-yard line. The way they were running the ball, it seemed like they were going to score at will against the Titans. Jared Goff had 3 touchdowns and 85 yards in total.
It's a crazy stat line.
It's nuts.
Like a high school game with a wing T offense. They only throw a touchdown. Every time they throw the ball, it's a touchdown.
Do you think they're the clear best team in the NFC?
Clear best team in the NFC. I mean, yeah, they've been kind of on a really impressive run. It's been, we all felt so bad for them when they lost Hutch. We thought that was going to destroy their defense, but I guess they haven't really been incredibly tested since that game. But their offense seems so almost unstoppable that we'll see when they get up against good opponents. But if I had to pick a team in the NFC right now, yeah, it definitely would be the Lions.
I mean, they beat the Vikings by 2 points last week. And I don't think we see the Vikings as a dominant football team. They're good. But to me, I don't think this game changes anything. What we saw was if you play a bad football team and they give you 2 turnovers for short fields and they have what might literally be the worst special teams game I've ever seen, then yes, you are going to dominate. I think any team would have scored 40 points in this game. I think the Lions are good. I think they are a very good offense. I think the defense is pretty bad, and I don't think any differently about them because of Tennessee. I think we need to see them against against better passing offenses in the week to come because I think the Vikings, they scored 22 on offense against them. They were fine on offense in that game. I don't think, it wasn't like they missed Aiden Hutchinson in that game, but the offense played so well that they were able to overcome it. And I think for Detroit, we're going to see them tested much more significantly than they were against Tennessee in this game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, but I guess if the question is who's the best team in the NFC, I still think I would go with the Lions. I don't think that I wouldn't say that there's no way that they would lose to a healthy quarterback Packers team or that they can't lose to the Vikings, but if you wanted me to pick one team, it'd be the Lions, and you would disagree, or you just think that they're
I think I would as well.
Definitive.
But it feels like every week we're answering that question about are the Lions the best team in the NFC? And maybe that's because Charlie just likes copying and pasting his notes from the previous week. But
he's tired. We'll let him go to sleep.
But I think realistically it's because they probably are the best, but I don't think they've separated from the pack yet. And they might at some point, but they play the Packers very soon, and I think that'll be a chance for them to separate from the pack.
All right, Bill, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a great show. The Domonique Foxworth Show presented by Allstate. Throw your hands up one last time. Charlie is going to have a good night's sleep with that breeze coming in the window because it is opened by his beloved Jayden Daniels. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, producers. Podville, I love you. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.